This first volume in the series is about a 27-year-old unsolved assault and murder in the city of Yuma, Arizona. The victim's name was Amberly Mendoza. She was only 10 years old. Amberly Mendoza was a 10-year-old girl living with her family in Yuma, Arizona. Born in 1985, she was a fourth-grade student studying at Valley Horizon Elementary School and was described as a shy girl who loved drawing, eating pizza, and rollerblading. Her mother stated that Amberly was a compassionate, outgoing child who would always make time for others. She also stated that Amberly had quite a passion for shoes. Amberly used to beg her mother to allow her to wear her mother's high heels to play in the park, but her mother would remind her how unsafe that would be before they would settle for sneakers. Family members stated that young Amberly always gave her best effort no matter what task was put in front of her. However, all her hopes and dreams for the future would be taken away from her in one callous act occurring on the evening of March 8, 1996. That evening, Amberly's family was hosting a barbecue for friends and family at their Yuma home located on 24th Lane in Yuma, Arizona. Amberly spent the evening playing with other children, socializing with the family, and watching a movie she had so badly wanted to see, Pocahontas. Amberly had made a deal with her mother earlier in the day that if she completed reading 10 books, her mother would allow her to watch the movie. While Amberly didn't quite make it to 10 books, she put in enough effort that her mother relented and allowed her to watch the Disney film. Around 11:30 p.m., it is alleged that a worn-out Amberly Mendoza said goodnight to everyone in her home and retired to her bedroom, where she would play for a while before finally getting into bed and falling asleep. Amberly had left her bedroom window slightly open that night to allow in the fresh air. The window was often left open by Amberly and her sisters, with their mother claiming that the girls and their friends often climbed in and out of the window, even though her mother stated it was meant to stay locked. The window next to Amberly's bedroom was located at the front of the family's home facing the street. Normally, Amberly would share this bedroom with her sisters, but on the evening of the barbecue, the other girls spent the night at the home of their grandmother. The next morning, Amberly's mother made a late breakfast for the family and friends who had stayed the night after the barbecue the prior evening. Around 11 a.m., she went to fetch Amberly to join the family for breakfast and called for her daughter throughout the home. When she didn't get a response, Amberly's mother assumed her daughter was out front rollerblading, as she loved to do. She went outside to tell Amberly it was time to eat and began to panic when she could not locate her daughter. Amberly's mother ran back to her home to check for her daughter in her room. Instead, she found a living nightmare. Amberly Mendoza was found lying dead in her bed. The police would come and begin their investigation, and Amberly's family would begin to process their grief. An autopsy would conclude that Amberly had been sexually assaulted and murdered between the hours of 11:30 p.m. on March 8th and 10:45 a.m. on March 9th. This was almost a 12-hour gap. Investigators declared the cause of death to be asphyxiation and that young Amberly had likely been suffocated with her own pillow. Further investigation of the crime scene showed that there were no signs of forced entry into the home and surmised that the killer must have come through the open bedroom window. The killer did leave behind some important evidence as police were able to recover a DNA sample from the body, which was collected and tested. The DNA proved that the killer was not a family member, and soon after, the family was cleared of any wrongdoing. During the investigation, it was learned that prior to the barbecue, Amberly's aunt and older sister noticed a man parked in front of the house as they were returning from buying groceries. When the man saw them approaching the house, he peeled out, leaving the area in a hurry. Many in the neighborhood knew the Mendoza girls and their friends liked to enter and exit through the bedroom window. If the man in the car did indeed scout out the house, it can be assumed that he may have seen the girls and their friends coming and going and used this information when planning his entry. In a 2016 news interview, Amberly's sister Jordan would explain that there was some other unusual activity happening around the home in the weeks leading up to the murder. One evening, shortly before her death, Amberly woke Jordan up to say there was a man outside the window. Jordan assumed that Amberly was just hearing some kind of noise outside, perhaps a coyote that was exploring the neighborhood. But Amberly would say no, that she had actually seen someone outside. Jordan stated that she ran to the window where she saw two men standing on the other side, speaking to one another. She heard the first man say, "Come on, dude, we gotta get out of here. Dude, hurry up," with the other man replying, "You just need to calm down, dude. Calm down and walk slow." It is unknown whether these two men or the man in the car from earlier in the day had anything to do with Amberly's murder. However, it seems to be one of the very few leads in the case. None of the men hanging around the house prior to the barbecue have been identified. Investigators still have the DNA sample, but it is unknown if any new leads have developed from that avenue. With murderers such as the Golden State Killer recently getting caught due to information received from DNA matching companies such as Ancestry and 23andMe, one can hope that this avenue of inquiry can bring Amberly's killer to justice. Because of this case and others, a family advocacy center with a crisis team to assist victims of domestic violence, child abuse, sexual assault, and elder abuse was opened in Yuma, Arizona, serving the greater Yuma County area. The name of this center is Amberly's Place. 4 years after Amberly was murdered, her mother was approached about using her name for the center. Amberly's family had to deal with the additional stress of the investigation on their own without help. There was no one there to guide them and advise them of their victims' rights. Now families in the area have a victim support network to lean on during those tough times. This case of all cases hangs over the city of Yuma as a sad reminder that horrible things can happen anywhere. In 2019, KYMA, the local NBC affiliate in Yuma, ran a piece on the Amberly Mendoza case. Public Relations Officer Lori Franklin stated, "It's been one of those homicides that have really affected the community because it has been so long. I mean, it was 1996. Amberly's Place Executive Director Diane Humphreys, who was also interviewed for this piece, stated, "You never really move past it. It's always back there, and you're always wanting those questions answered for the family. Who did this? Why did they do it? Those are the questions that, even though it doesn't bring closure, it gives answers to them, and those are the questions that I would love to see for them and the other people that love her." Humphreys was one of the 10 founding board members who established Amberly's Place in 1999. It is a scary thought that the monster who committed this atrocity may still be walking around a free man. Amberly Mendoza's sexual assault and murder is now a cold case. If anyone has any information that can help bring her murderer to justice, please call the Yuma Police Department at 928-373-4700, or to remain anonymous, call 928-78-CRIME.